Discuss them now. We have Adelina Campos and Karl Deeter. I think we'll start with the Herald and the pictures of the Irish woman who was held as a slave, it seems, but this story just gets more and more curious. What have you got on that for me?
Well, I mean, what we've found out that certainly she's been with this group for over 35 years. We know that she was prosecuted in '78 for assault when the police actually broke into the headquarters of this cult. We also know that all three victims appear to be coming from a sort of very educated, wealthy background, which seems, you know, a lot in contrast to their position as slaves. I mean, she is 57. We also know that the Malaysian woman that was with her, who is called Aisha Wahab, that she is a Malaysian student who came to England originally on a Commonwealth scholarship. So she's a very talented person. And the third woman, the youngest one, who's 30, who is believed to have been born into servitude. Now, she is thought to be possibly the daughter of a Welsh woman who was in the cult herself, and who then died during an accident. She fell out of a bathroom window from the rented premises where this couple were living. And this daughter, this woman is believed to be her daughter because of the extraordinary resemblance between her and the woman who died. And
so many more details coming out compared to where the story was when it first broke last week. It seems to be turning into something completely different than what we thought it was.
I actually think it's pretty amazing. I mean, you've got this woman whose dad helped to break a Nazi code, and she's clearly very bright, but wasn't able to figure out how to get out of a house that she was enslaved in for 3 decades. I mean, it just, to me, it really highlights, every time you hear these crazy stories, whether it's a guy in Ohio keeping women in his attic or Joseph Fritzl with people in his basement, it's always like the nice middle-aged lady next door, you know, was a slave owner or was a slave or something like that. And it's very hard for anyone to stay diligent against that because it appears so normal. And that's why it can go on for so long.
And there's what appears to be this voluntary element of some of them, at least, going in voluntarily.
There's a lot of brainwashing, obviously, going on, and certainly, I mean, I don't believe that the Irish woman would have rang the UK's Freedom Charity unless she believed she was in a position where she needed help. But there is always an element of coercion. I mean, even when it comes to other forms of trafficking, we always hear that, oh, this person was persuaded into becoming, for example, a sex slave or something else. So, I mean, there's a very fine line there, but whether or not they were victims, certainly they felt like they were, otherwise they wouldn't have made the call.
And we'll watch for further developments. Karl, the statistics that came out here yesterday in relation to employment and unemployment, unemployment is at a 4-year low and job creation is going well.
You could be forgiven for actually thinking that you heard that wrong. Today's story about employment is good news. Unemployment has dropped. We're now at a rate of 12.6%. Last year we were, you know, up around the 15% mark, and the Euro average is actually 12.2%. So we're getting very close in line with everywhere else. And we're now creating jobs in the private sector at the rate of almost 3,800 every month. And you've got to bear in mind, employment itself is up by over 40,000 jobs. And what was actually created was 58,000, but public sector shed about 11,000. So I think it shows the resilience of small, medium enterprise. There is a drop in the long-term unemployment, which is also very important. That's down from 8.9% to 7.7%.
And are we finding that this is a trend as these figures come out each month?
You see, the thing with employment, you've obviously, there's seasonal adjustment in it, there are seasonal factors. A lot of the people who've become employed again are self-employed with no employees. And that's one thing that I would have a bit of concern about, because that typically means that someone is actually acting as a self-employed contractor and you've no idea underneath what the implications of that contract they're on are. It's not the same as a permanent job where you would expect to stay in it for many years on end. So it could be a blip, but the thing is, we're headed in the right direction. A lot of the programs that are running appear to be working. The country does appear to be recovering if you take employment as one of the key barometers for the success of an economy. So I think it's very good news, and that, along with the end of recessions and showing some growth and getting more sustainability on the national debt, are all things that would indicate that in time we'll muddle through, and when we get to the other side it just won't feel like we had a great success story, but we will get there.
Okay, and it's a bit of positivity along the route as well. The next story, it's on the front of a lot of the Sun and the Mirror, all have it. Nigella Lawson, Higella, as we're told, she's been dubbed by Charles Saatchi, and claims that the throat incident In another picture we have here, he's looking at her nose.
Yeah.
She was addicted to cocaine for 10 years, we're being told. How did this all come out?
Well, there is a trial at the moment. No, sorry, there is going to be a trial of her personal assistants. There are 2 Italian women who were looking after her home and everything else for over 15 years. Now, these women, Elisabetta and Francesca Grillo, are saying that yes, they did spend £300,000 on luxury goods and designer bags and taxis, but they did so with Nigella's approval. And Charles Thatcher was supposed to be a prosecuting witness, is no longer a prosecuting witness, obviously, given that they've divorced and in the circumstances in which they divorced. And he's now saying, actually, I believe the claims that they're making, and I believe you were high while you accepted for them to make these expenses. And I think he's come out of it quite well. I mean, given that only a few months ago people were saying, you know, this is probably an instance of domestic abuse.
And it's been going on for many years behind closed doors.
That's it. Another speculation about what happened.
It is early days in this court proceeding as well.
Amazing, though. I mean, she's going to move from Nigella Lawson, domestic goddess, to Nigella Lawson, you know, goddess of the movie Scarface. Because apparently she was hoofing down some big amounts of drugs during that time. And it just...
And it does bring all those pictures in that restaurant, does bring them into a new light. And
there are serious claims about her daughter. You know, they're saying that she was also giving drugs to her 19-year-old daughter. So, we'll see. I mean, if she is cross-witness, we'll hear more about it.
And there's a final one here. Spouse this for a miracle cure. What is this one about? Who's looking at that?
It's a lady who had like some problem with her spine, that she had cysts and couldn't move, and she basically started lifting weights and cured herself. And she went from a size 22 down to a size 10 and was able to walk down the aisle where previously she was bedbound.
This is Lisa Bradley from Cork. Yeah,
when I started off working, I used to fit nurses' uniforms. So I can tell you, a size 22, that's a sizable woman. Like, your hands might not necessarily touch when you're reaching around. And, and it's a huge transformation story, but also about the fact that medicine didn't seem to be working on her. And then she goes and hits the gym for months on end, and now she's back in shape. So it's unusual, but it's a great success story for her as well.
It certainly is. Well done. As I say, Lisa Bradley from Cork. Yeah, that's in some of the papers today. The Sun has it. OK, listen, we'll leave it there for today. Thanks very much for coming in, Karl and Adelina. And Dave Kelly's here now. And Dave, what have you got for us in sport?
Anthony, thank you. Well.